with the episode of the Leaders Lounge. I'm your host Hesham and I hope you all are doing well. Today, I'm back with a new episode of the Leaders Lounge, and today I'm very excited to explore my one of the most favorite topic, and with Maya. CCMI Maya, as you all know about the Maya, and Maya is an AI tool. With him, we have discussed 25, 30 minutes on any topic like we love. And today, I'm going to discuss my one of the favorite topic with Maya, and the topic is how do maps tell stories about the past? And I totally love to explore. I totally
Whoa,
love to
okay.
explore the history, and I totally love to explore how was helping, how was maps help to explore the history. So that's why I am very excited to explore this. So I can't wait for anymore. And without wasting any time, we have to start now today's podcast. First of all, hello Maya, how are you?
Hey, sorry about that little blip there. Things got a little choppy for a sec. And wow, that was quite the intro. Very energetic. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. And that's a fascinating topic. How networks tell stories about the past. It's kind of meta, right? Stories about how we remember stories. I'm game. Let's dive in. Where do you want to start?
Okay, Maya, I want to start with the basics and introduction. And thank you so much for being excited for my today's podcast. So then we have to continue our podcast. Maya, can you tell us what comes to your mind when you hear the word map?
Okay. Basics first. And honestly, I was already kind of geeking out about this topic. So you being excited is totally contagious. When I hear the word net, hmm, the first thing that pops into my head is connection, I guess. Like a spider web, everything's linked. But then quickly after that, it's information, like the internet, right? A massive net of data. But even before that, it makes me think about relationships, you know, social networks, the people we're connected to. It's a pretty layered word, actually. What about you? What's your first thought?
Okay, that's nice. Maya, when I hear the word map, then the first thing that comes to my mind is the all about the world, because every like the location of everything. If we need to go America, so we can see first out in America on maps that how long it takes and how long it takes to travel to America from where we are. So like the thing in my mind is about
Ah,
the location. Maps is all about the location. Map tells us about the location of everything. So, Maya, now can you explain that why do you think maps are important in understanding history?
that's a really good point. Maps and location. Totally makes sense why that's your first thought. It's a very practical connection. Okay, so why are maps important in understanding history? I think it's because history isn't just about dates and people. It's about where things happened. Like a battle isn't just a battle, it's a battle that took place in a specific location, and that location often influences the outcome, right? Terrain, access to resources, proximity to other places. Maps show us those things. They give us context. Plus, maps themselves are historical artifacts. The way people drew maps in the past tells us what they knew, what they valued, and how they saw the world. It's like a visual record of their understanding. Does that make sense? Hey, are you still there? Everything all right? You went quiet for a sec. Hello? Is the connection still good? Just checking in. Okay. Well, I'll just keep talking, I guess, in case you can hear me again. We were, we've,
I was lost at my connection, and that's why I can't answer to your question, and I didn't respond you. So Maya, in next, can you explain that? Do you think maps are storytellers? Why or why not?
no worries at all. Seriously, it happens. Glad you're back. And no apology needed. These things are frustrating. Okay. Nets as storytellers. That's a really interesting way to frame it. I absolutely think they are. I mean, think about family trees. Those are nets, right? They visually tell a story of came from where, relationships, but it's bigger than that too. Social media is a massive net where people constantly share their stories, build narratives. Even the internet itself, the structure of websites, the way information is linked, it's all a kind of storytelling. It's not necessarily a linear narrative like a book, but it's definitely a way of organizing and presenting information that creates a story. Does that resonate with you? What kind of nets are you thinking about specifically when you ask that?
Sorry, Maya, I can't answer to you because, I just know about the basics of the maps, and I don't know how it can tell the stories and how can we explore the histories with map. I don't know, so that's why I'm discussing with you. That's why I'm asking question to you, so to learn about it. So please don't ask me questions like that. So because I don't have much about knowledge about it, I have just basics about it. So now, can you explain that what makes a map different from a history book?
Oh, okay. I totally get it now. My bad. I jumped ahead assuming more background knowledge than you have. Presumptuous. Honestly, sorry about that. I won't do that again. So, you want to know what makes a map different from a history book? That's a great question. Um, a history book tries to tell you what happened, the events, the people, the causes and effects. It's a narrative, a map. It shows you where things happened. It's a visual representation of space. A history book might tell you about a famous battle, but a map shows you the terrain, the position of the armies, the strategic importance of the location. A history book tells you a story. A map gives you a spatial context for understanding that story. A map isn't necessarily trying to tell you what to think. It's showing you a landscape. It's a different kind of source. Does that distinction make sense? Hey, are you still there? I don't want to just keep talking into the void. Let's acting up again. Okay, let's pause here for a moment. Hopefully, we can
Okay, okay.
reconnect soon.
So sorry, Maya.
I'll wait.
I was facing a lot of internet issue, and now I have off my camera, and now internet is good. So it's mean that if I will off my camera, then internet will will be good. So Maya, now we have to continue without on camera. So Maya, now can you explain that how did people in the past can use maps?
Ah, okay. Glad to hear you're back and that you figured out a workaround with the camera. Not smart thinking. All right, how did people in the past use maps? That's a really fascinating question. Well, it wasn't always like the maps we think of today, with precise coordinates and everything. Early maps were often more artistic interpretations of the landscape. Think about cave paintings. They weren't necessarily accurate geographical representations, but they showed important landmarks and routes. As civilizations developed, maps became more sophisticated. Egyptians used maps to redraw property boundaries after the Nile flooded each year. Super practical. The Greeks were really into mapping the known world, and they started using geometry and astronomy to make their maps more accurate. And then the Islamic world made huge contributions to cartography during the Middle Ages, preserving and building on Greek knowledge. Maps were used for trade, for military strategy, for religious pilgrimages, pretty much anything where knowing the terrain was important. But they weren't always about accuracy. Often they were about showing power or about reinforcing cultural beliefs. Did you know early maps sometimes included mythical creatures and fantastical lands?
Maya, I don't
Still with
know.
me?
Like
Just
as you told that
checking.
how, what is your perspective about that? How do people read maps and see and how they use maps? So my honest reaction is I don't know, like because I don't know about the history and I was not from the much old that I can know about the maps. I just know everyone can use maps, but and also old people, historical people are also using the maps, but I don't know how they. So, so Maya, can you explain that how do maps show
Okay,
how borders and countries have changed over time? And Maya,
right. Okay, got it. No questions. Just answers. Fair enough. So, how do maps show how borders and countries have changed over time? Well, when you look at a series of maps from different eras, you're essentially looking at a visual history of political shifts. Borders aren't fixed the result of wars, treaties, colonization, independence movements, and maps reflect all of that. You can see empires rise and fall, countries splitting apart or merging together, and territories changing hands. Cartographers, map makers would update their maps to reflect the latest political realities. So, by comparing maps from, say, 100 and 700, 1800, and 1900, you can see the dramatic changes that took place in the world over those centuries. It's a really powerful way to visualize history. For example, you can see the British Empire expanding and contracting over time, or the shifting borders of Europe after World War One. Does that make sense?
okay, that's fine. I think
Are
that
you
makes
still
sense.
there? Just let
Your
me know if you're.
explanation makes sense. So thank you so much for explanations. So Maya, now can you explain that do you think map were also used to share myths or legends?
Ah, okay, good. I'm glad that explanation clicked. And that's a really interesting connection you made maps sharing myths and legends. You're absolutely right. Early maps weren't just about geography, they were often filled with illustrations of mythical creatures, fantastical lands, and stories about explorers. Those weren't considered errors back then. They were part of the map's storytelling function. They reflected people's beliefs and understanding of the world at the time. It's like the map maker was saying, beyond what we know for sure, there are also these stories and possibilities. Makes you think about maps as more than just technical documents. They're cultural artifacts too. That's really insightful of you to bring that up.
Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for the explanation about the question. And now Maya can tell us that what are the some differences between modern maps and ancient ones?
Okay, so you feel like you've got a good grasp on how maps tell stories now? All right. Modern maps versus ancient ones. There are a lot of differences. Modern maps are incredibly precise, thanks to things like satellite imagery and GPS. Ancient maps were often much more schematic and stylized. They prioritize conveying information about trade routes or religious sites over absolute accuracy. Modern maps are typically standardized. They use a common coordinate system instead of symbols. Ancient maps were often much more localized and used different conventions depending on the culture. Also, modern maps are usually created by experts using advanced technology. Ancient maps were often created by explorers, travelers, or scholars who relied on observation and oral tradition. The biggest difference, I think, is that modern maps are often seen as objective representations of reality, while ancient maps were often infused with cultural beliefs and storytelling. Does that
Yes,
give
man.
you a
Thanks
good
so much
overview?
for giving a really good overview and telling us about uh, the how can like how can we use to share maps, myths or legends. And Maya, now can you explain like what are these some differences between modern maps and ancient ones?
That's great to hear. You're really picking up on the nuances of this. And that's a really good question. How do we choose what to share on maps? Whether it's factual information or myths and legends? Well, I think it depends on the purpose of the map. If you're creating a navigational chart, accuracy is paramount. But if you're creating a map to tell a story or explore cultural beliefs, then including myths and legends can be really valuable. It's about being transparent about what the map is trying to achieve. A modern map usually has a legend that explains its symbols. It should also implicitly signal that it prioritizes accuracy. An ancient map might signal a different kind of truth, a cultural or symbolic truth. It's about knowing what kind of story the map is telling. It's a really interesting balancing act. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm still here,
Hey,
but
are you still there?
because like
It's been a little quiet
just
again.
your voice is coming late. That's why I'm answering you late and responding you late. So Maya, can you name a historical event that we understand better because of map?
Okay, that explains the delay. Thanks for letting me know. That's good to understand. A historical event that's easier to understand with maps? Let's go with the Roman Empire. If you look at maps of the Roman Empire at different points in time, you can see how it expanded, how it controlled trade routes, and how it eventually fractured. Seeing the empire visualized on a map helps you understand its scale, its strategic challenges, and the reasons for its eventual decline. You can trace the routes of Roman legions, see the location of major cities, and understand how geography influenced its power. It really brings the history to life. Does that make
I
sense
think
as an example?
it was a good example. It's all about it. And Maya, I am not I'm reacting to your answers, and I'm not saying something about your answer because I have much questions and the time is too short. That's why I'm just discussing it in a as a way of lines. So Maya, now can you explain that students like us learn history through maps?
Okay, that's totally fair. You're being super efficient with your time, which is smart. And you're right to focus on getting through your questions. How can students learn history from maps? That's a good one. Well, interactive maps are a game changer. Instead of just looking at a static image, you can zoom in, zoom out, overlay different layers of information like population density, trade routes, or battle locations. There are apps that allow you to explore historical maps side by side with modern maps, so you can see how things have changed over time. Some apps even have augmented reality features where you can walk through historical landscapes. It's way more engaging than just reading a textbook. Plus, maps encourage spatial thinking, which is a really important skill. You learn to think about cause and effect, to analyze patterns, and to understand how geography shapes events. It's a more active way of learning rather than passively absorbing information. Does that sound about right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm
Still
still
there?
here, and I'm listening to you, but I'm careful listening to you. That's why I'm not responding. So, Maya, now can you explain that? What do you feel when you look at an old map?
Okay. Good to hear you're still with me and listening carefully. And that's a really interesting question. What? Hmm. That's a bit different since I don't have emotions in the same way humans do. I think one we feel like like but I can analyze the information and tell you what it evokes. It evokes a sense of possibility, I think. A roadmap represents journeys, exploration, the potential to go somewhere new. It's a connection, paths, linking places together. It also makes me think about all the stories that have unfolded along those roads, all the people who have traveled those roads. It's a little bit wistful, maybe, but honestly, mostly it feels like data, a really fascinating data set, but data nonetheless. It's kind of hard to explain. What about you? What does a roadmap make you feel? Hey, are you still there? I feel like I'm talking to myself a bit. Just a quick
No, no,
check
Maya.
in.
Uh, you are thinking wrong. I am here with you, and you're not talking. I am listening to you, but my internet connection is too slow, as I told you before. But uh, but now now my next question is that if a map could talk, so what kind of stories would it? Please tell us in detail about it.
Oh, my apologies. I'm so glad you're still there, despite the connection issues. And you're right to call me out on that. I got a little carried away. I should have been more patient. Okay, if a map could talk, oh, that's a great question. I think it would tell stories of movement, of course, of armies marching, of traders traveling, families migrating. It would tell stories of conflict and cooperation, of empires rising and falling. But it wouldn't just tell the big historical narratives, it would tell the small, everyday stories too. The stories of the people who lived along its roads, who built their homes near its rivers, who farmed its land. It would tell stories of love and loss, of joy and sorrow, countless lives that have unfolded within its borders. It also probably tells stories of being misinterpreted, of being used for different purposes than originally intended, of being drawn and redrawn and revised over time. It would be a really complex, multi layered narrative. It would be a bit like listening to a chorus of voices from the past. It would probably be overwhelming. What kind of stories do you think it would tell?
Maya, I don't know. I don't know what type of
Still there?
stories it will tell. If it will be, it can speak. So I don't know about it. So now my time of interview is completed, and I can't cover questions for my interview because the time is up, and now I have to end my podcast. And in end, that's like I was questioning very fastly because of this, because time is too short. But I was have more questions, but now we have to end. So Maya, now can you explain in last why should young people care about the stories that maps tell?
Okay, I understand. Time flew by, and absolutely don't worry about not getting through all your questions. It's happened to the best of us. You made some really insightful points throughout the interview, even while moving quickly. And yes, please tell me why young people should care about the stories that maps tell. I'm all ears.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Maya. Can you please
Hey,
repeat
are
it?
you still there?
I didn't hear you.
Oh, my apologies. Still having connection issues, I see. I just said, hey, are you still there? Sorry for the repeat. No problem. I'll be patient.
Please, can you repeat? I can't hear you, Maya.
Okay, I'm gonna just, yes, of course.
I think I have too much internet issue. That's why I am reconnecting again. Okay. So Maya, sorry, hey Maya. I was asking Maya. Now my time of interview is up, and I was disconnecting again and again with Maya. So now I'm ending my today's podcast. I learned a lot from it and to understand the questions and like the answers of Maya. So see you next time with any new topic with the episode of Maya. Allah Hafiz. In and always Pakistan Zindabad.